Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is the 58 Keys Script Club. It's just like it's a book club, but it's about scripts. Yeah, scripts, screenplays, all that. You could, as ever, well, I was going to say listen to me in tears. This time, a bit of puzzlement about a script, or you could just go read the script. Link in the description. This time, Doctor Who. And you've got to ask, haven't you, where in the world do you start with a television show that has run on and off for 60 years? Well, here, really. You start with this. Available online is the script to An Unearthly Child by Anthony Coburn, the very first episode of Doctor Who ever. So much to say, though, before we even get... Obviously, I'm always going to talk to you about scripts that you can get, that you can read. It's, pointless otherwise. I do get sent some that aren't published, that aren't generally available, and that's very nice for me. I like it a lot, but it's no use to you, is it? Unless you get sent some that you can't submit. Yeah. I've always just kind of taken it for granted, though, that you could always watch the film, go watch the TV show, or whatever the script is for. But in this one case, not so much. There's some dispute between the BBC and the estate of the late Anthony Coburn. I don't know any of the details at all, but I know that the result means that this very first Doctor Who story cannot currently be screened. If you're in the UK, for example, well, every surviving episode of Doctor Who is on the BBC iPlayer, except this one. As it happens... Why am I telling you this? A couple of years ago, I did a complete watch. I watched all of the classic Doctor Who's, and at that point, An Unearthly Child was available. So, again, that was nice for me. It has, though. It's also been released at least a couple of times on various DVDs throughout the year. So it should be huntable, should be available with some effort somewhere. So you can see it, just not as easily as usual. Still, before we get to the script, there's some practical stuff to say. First of which is, if you are a Doctor Who fan already, then you would have very good reason to presume that when I say An Unearthly Child, I mean the whole 4-episode first ever story, and I don't. Back when it started, if you don't happen to already know this, Doctor Who stories ran across multiple 25-minute episodes, with each episode getting its own individual title, the first few years of the show, anyway. But even then, back in the day, nobody could be bothered to say all 4 or all 6 or however many all it was. So stories tended to become known by the title of the first one. Not always. It'd be far too easy if it were always, but yeah. But for now, An Unearthly Child is literally episode 1 and the only episode that I want to talk about from this first story. Except this particular episode was shot twice. There was a pilot recording that was scrapped, and there was a revised one shot later, and that revised one is the episode that got aired. The pilot version is available, well, if you hunt for it. I actually think the script I've got linked for you is the original pilot version. I'm not sure. I can't prove it. There were significant tone changes between the two recordings, and those wouldn't necessarily have shown up in the script. It's just actors get it right. I thought there were key dialogue changes that obviously would show up, but I can't see any in this version, and I can't now watch the aired version to check. But I was sure that the dialogue actually the changes removed some of the explanations of the Doctor's past, his backstory stuff, and that was good, I feel, because that freed up the show to figure that all out later, as it did. And another thing, honestly, I will get to why the script is interesting. There's just one more thing. Do you need to know it? You'll see it straight away. I think it would help you to know before you go read the script, but this is the last point, promise you, before talking about the script proper. When you think of the word script, when you think of scripts at all, the odds are that you think of it in this format. This is the layout for a film script, and these days it's also the layout for primetime television, including Doctor Who. But it wasn't always like this, at least not here in the UK. There was a script format, a script layout. It's actually still used in EastEnders, but in the 1950s and the 1960s, I don't think it had a name, but you can think of it as a camera script. Its chief purpose was to enable studio camera operators to do their job. So it had most, but for some reason not all, of the actual script, the dialogue and the description, rammed up against one side of the page with the director's handwritten camera move notes on the left or the right, whichever end, wherever the gap was, and oodles of space for other handwritten notes. It seems to me, having read a lot of these, that these scripts, they were written for the cameras. They were not written with actors or writers in mind. There were also rehearsal scripts, which didn't have all of this furniture on the page, but still they were rammed up against the side. They were still using all uppercase too for the stage directions and things like that. They were getting themselves ready for the cameras rather than for actors and writers. All uppercase, by the way, if you don't happen to know this, it's literally harder to read than mixed upper and lower case. In anything, actually, not just scripts. With mixed case, our eyes grab the whole word at once, whereas with all uppercase, it's like you're having to decode letter by letter because the blocky, they're so similar. An Unearthly Child script is written in this all caps, rammed up format, and I'm not going to say it's impenetrable because I penetrated it. That didn't sound right. I mean, I've read it a couple of times over the years, but yeah, compared to proper film, it's a bit of a slog. Still, this isn't just a script. This is a bit of television history, really. And given what we now know about Doctor Who and where it would go over the following 6 decades, and hopefully counting, it's fascinating to see its very, very first steps right there on the page. I mean, when you write a pilot, you want it to have legs for a series to run for, but this is ridiculous. More than 600 episodes followed off the back of this very first one, which is possibly all the more impressive because the producer at the time, Verity Lambert, the great Verity Lambert, didn't want to make it. Or at least she really didn't want to start Doctor Who with this. But there was no alternative. At the time, there were no other scripts ready. What can you do? And actually, I think if you do read An Unearthly Child, or if you're able to see it anyway, see this opening episode, you're going to have to wonder why she was so against it. But then if you're able to see the rest of the story, the following 3 out of the 4 episodes, yeah, you're not gonna carry on wondering. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. An Unearthly Child introduces us to the Doctor through his granddaughter Susan and the London school she attends at the time, plus 2 of her school teachers. And I actually think it is excellent. But at risk, at certainty of spoiling it, this episode ends with the TARDIS, the Doctor's ship, going back in time to some prehistoric period. I don't know. The remaining 3 episodes are all about the Doctor, Susan, the 2 teachers trying to escape cavemen and women. It's fine. But the very first episode, that is excellent. It is so atmospheric. I think also it's so of its time, but somehow that works for it. That seems to add to it, I think. And that is why I want to talk to you about it. Plus the fact that there is a little puzzle, there is a little mystery. That feels tiny, a bit overblown. There's a curiosity. There's an odd thing about it. Look at this line, please. Get back to the ship. The ship is the TARDIS that if you've seen the show, we've all come to know, but by this point in the script, we've read it, we've seen the description, we're inside it. Yet the Doctor is telling Susan to get back to it. And they're both already right there. They're actually at the very centre of the set. I mean, as aired, I think actually the line is slightly different. I have a feeling it's something like, get back to the ship, child, but it's not a substantial change, really. It sounded like William Hartnell just saying something wrong, and he did tend to do that. But there it is, in the script. A completely meaningless line, or at least completely meaningless to me. Plus, sort of similar thing, school teacher Ian Chesterton gets to exclaim that the TARDIS is alive. He's touched the outside of it, the outside that looks like a 1960s London police box, and presumably, well, we hear a hum, presumably it's slightly vibrating, and what he means is it's live, as in electrical live. But he says alive, and he says it because the script tells him to, and the script therefore tells me that Anthony Coburn was just wrong. One last thing. This is now a script from 60 plus years ago. It was typed, and the copy online is, I would imagine, it's got to be from a photocopy. It might not be a first generation photocopy though. It could very easily be a copy of a copy, and who knows how far down the line. And in this case, it's fine. But if you go on to read other classic Doctor Who scripts that are available on Blu-ray and on CD collections, there are so often lines that you simply cannot read because the script has faded. And yet, it is thrilling to have these things to read. Thank you very much for watching. Now, take care of yourself. Hey, read more, but we're writers. You should write more. So should I. It's important. And I'll see you soon after we've done some writing. Okay? Deal?